Today we're baking bread. If you're ever curious as to where I learned this, this is the Tartan Bread book. You can buy it on Amazon. It's a San Francisco area bakery who put this book. It's amazing. Okay, so when we did our How to Feed Your Starter video, I was describing that I was setting some starter aside for baking today. So what I did is I put 100 grams of starter, 100 grams of lukewarm 80-degree water, and 100 grams of flour in this. This has been rising for probably about 4 hours now. If you smell it, it'll be yeasty. It'll definitely have kind of a sour hint to it. If you're curious if your starter is ready to bake with, take a little bit of your starter, put it in water. If your starter floats, like ours is, it's ready to bake. So that means at the very end, you will at least get something that resembles bread. How good it is depends on a bunch of other factors. Okay, so now we're gonna start with 200 grams of starter. So we'll put our bowl on, we'll zero it out, and we will start adding starter to our bowl. It's gonna be most of this, by the way. Sorry, it's very sticky. Almost. One more spoon. Okay, we're a little heavy on the starter, but we can always just divide out. Grab a little bit more. And good enough. Okay, now we're gonna add 700 grams of water at this point. So once again, we're gonna zero our scale. Start adding water. It is a lot of water. 700 grams is in the neighborhood of 3 to 4 cups.
Is this warm water?
Yes, this is once again 80-degree lukewarm water. There we go. There's 700 grams of water. Now what I usually do is I'll just kind of incorporate the water and the starter, kind of giving us kind of a yeasty, watery thing. Okay, so that's there. Then we are gonna start adding our flour. Hold on one second, I gotta get the flour.
Take your time stirring at this point. He's coming.
All right. Okay, so now we are gonna add a total of 1,000 grams of flour. We're gonna add 900 white flour. I'm using bread flour. I know that's kind of hard to get right now, but you can use all purpose. It'll be very, very similar. Zero our scale. And like I said, 900 grams of flour is a lot of flour. Okay, there's that. And then from there, we're going to add, I use rye, you can use wheat. It's just a good blend of the two.
Adam.
What? Do I need to move that? Okay. So once again, we're gonna add 100 grams, in my case of rye. You can use wheat, you can use all white flour, it doesn't really matter. Okay.
The suspense is amazing.
I know. Okay, so there is our flour, water, yeast combination. So now what we're gonna do is, the key thing is to have a really good heavy spoon, because this mixture will have some weight to it. And we're just going to incorporate all of this together, really stir it in, really get it combined.
So a spoon or a spatula?
This is a really heavy spatula. You could probably use a spoon. It would work the same. Or if you have a bowl scraper, that also works pretty handily. But what we're trying to do is just make sure all of our flour has water. And so
So is it too early to use your hands?
I don't use my hands usually at this step.
Okay.
I'm just trying to make sure that my dough, my flour is wet, because we're gonna do that, and then we're just gonna let it sit here for a little bit, for about 30 minutes. So this is where my, where you could use your hands is here. I'm using the bowl scraper so I don't get my hands gross, just because I'm kind of a pansy. But if you look, it's a pretty incorporated. Everything's all together now. So that's what you end up looking with. Now we are just gonna set this aside. I usually just grab like a kitchen rag and we'll throw that over the bowl. And then I'm gonna set my timer for 30 minutes. But while we're doing all of that, while that 30-minute clock starts, we are gonna add our salt in 30 minutes, so 20 grams of salt. And we are also going to add somewhere in the, and then we're gonna add another 50 grams of water. So I use these little ramekins. I'm going to zero that out.
You can use anything as long as you zero it out.
Yeah. Yeah, so, okay. So now I'm just gonna have these ready, so when that's done just sitting there and letting everything go, all I have to do is dump these on top of it for my next step. So, a little bit less. There's 20 grams of salt. And then we have still some lukewarm water over here. And once again, I don't have to zero it out, it's the same container. But zero out your container, add your 50 grams of, that's a little heavy, but you need 50 grams of water. So I'm just trying to get it as accurate as I can. There you go, 50 grams of water, 50 grams of salt. And we're sitting, I usually will clean up stuff the mess I've made, but see you in 30 minutes.